When we are on,
Okay,
when we go there.
I was
Yes,
just asked to say something, so then the mic would go on. So I say something and the mic goes on. Successful cooperation, research, development, and innovation. This is one of the finest sessions of these 2 days. Very warm welcome to this session on policy and science cooperation in Baltic Sea cooperation. My name is Maxi Nachtigall. I'm representing the Council of the Baltic Sea States. I'm advisor for sustainable development. And I have a very nice colleague at my side here who will introduce themselves shortly.
Good afternoon. My name is Andris Andrušaitis. I'm manager of the Baltic Sea Research and Innovation Program, which is BONUS. So our organizations are holding together this parallel working stream, or as we call it, the workshop, actually. And the title is Successful Cooperation, Research, Development, and Innovation. Well, my first reflection is that this is not something desirable, actually, but this is something which we simply cannot afford to avoid. The cooperation between the people involved in research and development and innovation, it's actually the only cure how we can go forward and how we were all observing the discussion in the previous part, and people were talking a lot about how to, is it something, are these two parts of the same thing, development and sustainability, or are there any tools how we merge these things together? And actually, I think the answer is this one. We have to put together research, development, and innovation. And this is one of the speakers in the last session mentioned this triple helix, which is actually, she didn't disclose what it is, but this is basically the cooperation between the public sector, the private sector, and the education and research.
That's correct, but I guess we have quite a lot of challenges in front of us when it comes to a very well working and functioning cooperation between science and policy.
Right, and I think you have one story to tell us about.
Well, I was thinking about how this, if we always were facing the same problems when it comes to science and policy, or if it's just like our problem. But then I was recently reading a story about that a guy who was actually working in the English Navy in the 17th century. And his name was Captain Lancaster. And Captain Lancaster was actually responsible for the whole English Navy. And at some point, they discovered that scurvy. That is when you went to the sea with the English Navy and you were on a boat for too long and you came back without teeth. And in the worst case, you came back without teeth and dead. So that's not good because you have a lot of losses then in the English Navy. And the English Navy said, we might be doing something about this. And then they called a researcher. And the researcher found out, and that was that Lancaster guy, the researcher found out that when you provide these people with lemon, they might actually lose less teeth. And then the English Navy officers, they discussed this. Unfortunately, they discussed this issue for 150 years. Right. Although Lancaster had done everything to prove that his research was right. So for 150 years, these guys were discussing what to do about this research result until they decided, let's put in another researcher. And another researcher, James Lind, he found out that it's even better when you put in lemon and oranges because that can eventually cure scurvy, even when they're coming back from the sea. But that couldn't really, that was not really a way in to still approve these research results. So the English Navy kept discussing about this, what to do now with these science results for the next 70 years. And turns out when they implemented finally a policy saying that all the marine and seamen having to be getting lemon, then the other ones that were very closely cooperating with the Navy merchants, they took another 48 years to implement the same idea. So the question is, which part of the policy science gap they haven't understood, and if we're facing the same thing and the same experience or the same challenges when it comes to saving the Baltic Sea, what would that mean?
Right, right. And Maxi, by the way, do you know, you told this nice story about, and actually I think while the politicians and scientists were discussing, the sailors were using rum punch, which is actually containing the lime's juice. But you know, in the German Navy and Russian Navy and Swedish Navy and Latvian Navy. Do you know what was saving the teeth and the very lives of sailors in those times?
I don't want to say herring, so you better tell me.
No, it's sauerkraut.
See?
It's cabbage and sauerkraut, which actually contains almost as much C vitamin as limes and oranges and lemons. But I think it's a time to invite our speakers and the panelists of this afternoon.
And so should we do, because they're actually the real experts before we're talking too long to tell you more about how to save the sea and how to do better in science and policy interactions than the English Navy and James Lind. So I would like to welcome on stage as one of the first speakers, Professor Jakob Carstensen. He's with the Department of Bioscience, Applied Marine Ecology and Modeling of the Aarhus University. And he's currently the project coordinator of the bonus project COCOA. Please have a seat.
Yeah, I'm just looking for my name.
And as a second speaker, Anna Sosnowska. She is a specialist with the Chief Inspectorate Environmental Protection in Poland, and she is actually representing the Polish coordinator of Priority Area Nutri. As a third speaker, Dr. Grit Martinez. She is Senior Fellow at the Ecologic Institute in Berlin, and at the same time, she is Adjunct Associated Professor at the Duke University, and also to mention partner of the Soil to Sea project, also bonus project. And the Ministerial Advisor, Maija-Liisa Tapio-Bistrom from the Ministry of Agriculture and Forest, Finland. Andres, but you have more.
Yeah, I have some more. May I introduce Helen Ahead, Assistant Director of Natural Resources and Environmental Effects at IVL, Swedish Environmental Research Institute, and coordinator of the bonus innovation project OptiTreat on optimization of small wastewater treatment facilities. Also warmly welcome Jenny Hedman from Swedish Environmental Protection Agency. Jenny is a coordinator of the EU strategy for the Baltic Sea region priority area of hazardous substances. Then welcome also Åsa Stenmark, head of the waste group at IVL, Swedish Environmental Research Institute, and project manager for RECO, which is a Baltic 21 tech project on sustainable waste management in the Baltic Sea region. And finally, the expert, which you already know, which is Karin Nygaard-Skalman, director at Vinnova Sweden, coordinator of the Baltic Sea Stars and Stardust projects, and also coordinator of the EU strategy for the Baltic Sea region priority area of innovation and SMEs. Well, talking about these combinations and cooperation and the need of cooperation between researchers and policymakers and the industries, those who are actually doing the innovation, we must return actually to the challenges and the situation with the Baltic Sea, most importantly because actually we are here and this is a forum of the Baltic Sea region, and the challenges of the Baltic Sea, I think this is a very good example. We have eutrophication, we have endangered biological diversity, occurrence of invasive alien species, we have hazardous substances, we were exploited biological resources. These all actually, this is not only the sentiment about the biological diversity or condition of nature or the clean and pristine environment, these are all actually undermining, these issues are undermining and endangering the very important, very basic ecosystem services. And they also, if we look deeper about how to overcome these issues, we sooner or later realize that we need a cooperation between the research and innovation and the practical actions. Otherwise, we are in the forest. You know, there are already nowadays there are some people who are saying we are researching too much. We need to start doing something. And there are some industrialists who are promising millions and billions and promising, which is the most dangerous, promising the thousands of the working places if we just lift a little bit our environmental regulations and when we find some holes in the Baltic Sea Action Plan or the EU strategy, EU Water Framework Directive and so on and so forth. But may I have my other slide? I have a little provocation actually here. Yes, this is my slide. We all know that the Baltic Sea is eutrophied. There are a lot of hazardous substances, and there are more problems actually than profits from the Baltic Sea. We also know that there is another. We are here in this lucky part where the climate scientists are promising that we will have more rainfalls actually, which will lead to more nutrients into the sea, right? Within 20 or 50 years, the water scarcity, which is being discussed very seriously already now, will certainly hit pretty strongly the southern European, which are growing fruits and supplying a lot of other Europe and world with food. So we have technical capacities to close the Danish Straits and make it a freshwater lake, and then export this surplus water not to let it drain into the North Sea as it happens nowadays, but sell it to the other parts of Europe. Your quick reactions. Maybe not all, but maybe two of you. What do you think? Jakob Carstensen, what do you think about this?
Well, I think it's interesting, and I think we could have a very long discussion about the, you could say, what the positive, pros and cons with your idea would be, and I think that's a long scientific discussion. I'm not going to bore you with that one. I think it's more a matter of, you could say, that any sort of solution that you do, everything you do has some side effects. And I think one thing is that you might come up with a solution, but I think also there might be some cost associated with it. And we're not just talking about the cost of building these 2 dams that you put on there. I think also that we have to, in addition to, you could say the side effects, the ecological side effects that potentially might be, I think it's also a matter of morality. It's a matter of what we do with nature. We have been sort of culturing our landscapes for the last several thousand years. And we are about to more or less do the same with our marine environment. And I think it's a matter of us humans. Do we want to sort of pass on to our next generations a completely cultured marine landscape? So I'm not sure that science can give you that solution